Thanks very much, Hugh, and good afternoon, everyone. When Elizabeth and I discussed this topic, we decided to divide it up along the lines of pension reforms that impact member rights and benefits. So I understand Stephanie will be focusing primarily on grown rights under the new legislation, which is a very, very key change under Ontario pension reform. And I am going to focus on some of the recent pension reforms that impact the administration of your pension plan. So with that in mind, what I propose to talk about today is a number of key Ontario as well as a few federal pension reforms that impact plan administration in such areas as the new Pension Advisory Committee rules, which I think are of great interest to a number of plan sponsors, as well as other areas such as expanded notice and disclosure rights, electronic communication, record retention, and a little bit about phased retirement. Lastly, I'll talk about some of the administrative challenges that these reforms will present for plan sponsors and some practical strategies for dealing with those challenges. So, with that in mind as our agenda, the principal area I think that the conference developers felt would be of interest to a great many of you attending are the new Pension Advisory Committee rules under the Ontario Pension Benefits Act. Now, they are not yet in force, and the regulations associated with the legislative changes have not yet been released. But with that in mind, there are still some significant key changes under the legislation that we are aware are upcoming once the legislation is proclaimed. I'm going to take you through the rules and talk a little bit about the potential impact and what steps plan sponsors may take in response. First, on the area of establishment of a Pension Advisory Committee or PAC. The Act provides that a majority of members and retired members participating in a vote can establish a PAC, where a trade union represents members. The trade union can make that request as well. So what that means is that any one of the members, the retired members, or a union can initiate the process. How does that process start? Well, any one of those groups can give a written notice to the plan administrator, and that's what the new legislation contemplates. And when the administrator receives that written notice from either the members, retired members, or the union, one of the significant key changes under the new legislation is that brings about new obligations on the plan administrator to respond to that written notice. And these are the obligations, and a little bit unclear in terms of the precise content because some of the rules will be prescribed. But what that will require the administrator to do is to distribute the notice and other prescribed information to the members and retired members and provide such other assistance as is required. Now, this is, just want to back up a bit in terms of the import of these new rules. It doesn't really take a great deal to understand how we got to these changes. If you look back at what happened before the Expert Commission on Pensions and some of the stakeholder submissions that the Commission received, one of the most powerful lobbies before the Expert Commission were retiree organizations who said, rightly or wrongly, that they felt that they had very little information as retired or former members and consequently very little voice in how the plan was run. And so I think that these rules are really designed to respond to those submissions. They're designed to help facilitate the establishment of a PAC and to give greater voice to the retirees and the former members. And under the current